your cover story is based around the Canticle of the Creatures here in this year, where we're celebrating the 800-year anniversary of this beautiful Italian poem. So, to begin, can you tell me about the first time that you read St. Francis of Assisi's Canticle of the Creatures and what impact it had on you?
Yeah, so full confession, I read it the first time as a freshman in college, and I read it alongside The Little Flowers of St. Francis, and I hated them. I really just hated it. I found it sappy, I found it sentimental. I was really dealing with a lot of stuff around religion and Christianity, and so I didn't like all the God talk. And as I've said this in other forums, this is how God works, right? God hooked me this way because I just started studying Franciscan history after that. It was a way for me to try to understand Francis's life story. And what happened, I went and got a PhD in Franciscan history. And along the way, I eventually returned to the faith and started rereading the Canticle, rereading the Little Flowers, and coming up with a deeper appreciation. But I'll be honest, it's only within the last few years as I've gotten older that my appreciation for the Canticle has really deepened as I, understand how Francis came to write it and come to understanding my own life trajectory and entering into this last phase of life myself. The Canticle has a richer meaning.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about that depth of meaning and how it kind of bloomed for you? And maybe that'll get us into explaining the background to this poem. Because I think when a lot of people read this, at least when I first read it, it was just like, this sounds euphoric. This sounds kind of frankly naive,
Yeah, yeah.
like this flowery kind of poem. And then as I started to learn more about it as well, I was like, oh my gosh, the period of time from which this arose is really quite remarkable. So, can you take listeners into that for me?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that for a lot of us, especially the first time we come to reading this canticle or hearing the canticle, we assume it's from the young Francis. For those of us who've watched Brother, Sun, Sister Moon Zeffirelli's um, movie, we think it's about the young Francis running through fields and with music of Donovan in the background. But no, it really comes near the end of his life, the last year of his life, that he starts composing it. So it's really a representation of his mature faith. And he has gone through so much. And it's not just a simple trajectory, it is a complex life of ongoing conversion, ongoing transformation, ongoing letting go, even of some of his most beloved thoughts and aspirations, perhaps aspirations for his community. I think the way I view the canticle now is I start situating it around 1220 when he is letting go of leadership of the friars. He recognizes by this time not only is his health declining, but he doesn't have the capacity to be an administrator, an organizer, a manager of a growing order of men. My colleague Bill Short uses this phrase that I just love, and I think it encapsulates Francis's way of being so well. He was clearly charismatic, and people were attracted to him, but he couldn't organize lint in his pocket. And and that's it.
It's
That's
great.
it. He couldn't organize lint in his pocket, but he couldn't organize a whole group of uh, diverse men. So he lets go and renounces his leadership of the order. And what happens to him when he retires from leadership? It's what happens to any of us when we retire or let go of a task or a project that we really love. Hard to let go. He starts observing what the other guys are doing, and he says, no, it's not supposed to be like that. I don't what are you doing? I don't even recognize you anymore. He gets petulant. He gets angry. He does all these very human things and has all these human emotions that I really appreciate. He's not this simple, sentimental guy who can just run around in the woods all day long. No, he's really feeling it. He
He's
sees.
unashamedly himself, it seems like.
Absolutely. He can't help himself. He's Italian, he just can't help himself. He lets go with his emotions, and he he's really quite petulant with his brothers. And this one passage that I especially like is like, I don't even recognize you anymore. I don't even recognize it. Who are you? So it's a depiction of him, but it's an honest depiction, and it's actually probably from the Assisi compilation, because that's the compilation of stories from his companions where we get the real gritty Francis, right? The real Francis. And I appreciate that. And so he did have to wrestle with his own emotions. He had to wrestle with letting go. He had to wrestle with his health.
Yeah, and
Uh,
what were some of his the health issues he was battling at this time in his life when he wrote the Canticle of the Creatures?
Yeah, well, he had this chronic eye disease that was very painful, and ultimately, at the friar's insistence, he sought medical attention, and the doctor cauterized his eyes, so you can imagine how painful that is. He didn't eat well, he didn't take good care of his body, so he suffered from malnutrition and weakness. So he is declining in health along this way.
I mean, in a very real sense, he's nearing his deathbed, correct? Like his weakness, his frailty.
Eventually, and that's
Yeah.
why I'd like to see this across, however, 6 years rather than just the last year of writing the Canticle, because I think the background is necessary. He's ongoing letting go, letting go, letting
Mm,
go. Finally, when he's in at San Damiano being cared for by Claire and the sisters, and he's surrounded by mice who he, apparently doesn't like mice and rodents running around him. He's in pain, recovering from this cauterization treatment. That's when he says, "Praise to you, Lord, through Brother Sun, Sister Moon." When he's finally composing the canticle, he's at this place where he's already given up so much. He's processed all of these emotions and all of these situations, and situations that don't rest easy with him. What does he find himself? Finds himself surrounded by God through all of creation, and all these reasons to praise God through all of creation. He might have had to let go of this, that, and the other, but he still has God. He still has his faith. And so now, far from being the 18-year-old freshman, I just had my birthday. I'm 64 years old. I'm just now finally grasping the depth of the canticle. And it can bring me to tears. It can really bring me to tears.
what stirs you so much emotionally at this time in your life about the Canticle?
Well, I think it's his life story and that background to understanding the composition. Because I, too, at this point in my life, I've had to give up a lot of aspirations, a lot of expectations of how my life would go. And when I really sit with it and reflect on how I was battling with letting go of things. But now that I have let go of many, many hopes and expectations of my life, I realize how much more beautiful life is. And that with my faith and with uh, the natural world around me, with the relationships I have, there's so much beauty, so much more beauty than what I had been hoping for. So it's his life story and then reflecting on my own life story that gives me the capacity to um, really see the canticle in new light.